Now, as all bingo callers know, it's lucky 7, God's in heaven. But for the Chancellor today, who happened to be on a visit to a bingo hall, honing his man of the people credentials, the call was actually lucky number 1.7. That's the rate inflation has fallen to, the lowest in 4 years. So is there no longer a cost of living crisis? And if not, will that deepen Ed Miliband's problems with restless backbenchers? Our political editor, Gary Gibbon, reports.
There's a 7 and 4, 74.
George Osborne was in a bingo hall in Cardiff when the latest economic statistics were published. Inflation hit a 4-year low, suggesting interest rates will be kept low for some time yet.
This is further evidence that the government's long-term economic plan is working, and the budget contributed to that long-term plan.
After peaking in 2011, inflation is now down to 1.7%. Private sector earnings growth, after twists and turns over the last few years, today ended up in exactly the same spot, also 1.7%. If inflation holds and earnings go up, some will be feeling better off for the first time in a long while. Public sector earnings are still well behind.
The average working person, £1,600 a year worse off than in 2010. There's a lot of catching up to do, and it's not even started yet. People will be worse off under David Cameron and George Osborne at the next election.
The cost of living is getting higher, whilst the rate of pay is not increasing at the same rate, you know.
It's definitely better. Absolutely, definitely better. It's been better for about 6 months at least, and it's going better all the time.
George Osborne at the Royal Mint counting his political winnings. Today's figures will add pressure on Ed Miliband to talk more about growth, a bit less about the cost of living.
That's an argument that we have to get out there. I think we have to talk more about what our proposals are for the economy at a national level and at a local level, and have a dialogue not just about the cost of living but also about business.
George Osborne touring Port Talbot. Polls suggest a narrowing of Labour's lead, a widening of the coalition's lead on economic competence.
No, I don't see anything, I still think it's got a long way to go. I don't see Labour are actually going to improve anything.
Would you trust the Labour Party to come in and run the economy and to run it well?
I think there's a bit of a question mark there.
Frankly, no.
Say no more.
In a letter to The Guardian yesterday, a broad spectrum of Labour thinkers and think tanks called on Ed Miliband not to play safe in his campaign for the election. One Labour shadow cabinet minister said what united all these signatories was that they all sensed there was inertia in the leadership. One shadow cabinet member said to me he felt lots of good ideas go into Ed Miliband's office to die. Do you recognise that description?
Ed has had some very good and very brave ideas, notably the energy price freeze. All I would say is possibly we need to step up the pace a little.
One source close to the leader said big new ideas were on the way, on areas like rail infrastructure, getting councils to build housing and rethinking higher education, cutting the cost of a university degree. We've had a bad week, the source said, but there will be better ones. Gary Gibbon, Channel 4 News, Westminster.